After buzzers, go ahead, take a seat, relax, because in my opinion, this is the best episode of the season, episode 15, Switches and Stones. Oh my gosh, we have misogyny, we have rape culture, and we have ultimately sisterhood playing into this episode, and we're breaking it down right now, so don't go away.
You're tuned in to AfterBuzz TV, the ESPN of TV talk. Now, let the buzz begin.
What's up, After Buzzers? I am so excited to break down this episode. Like I said, I want to know if this is your favorite episode, because to me, this blew everything out of the park in terms of the last 14 episodes that happened. We'll be breaking down kind of where the sisters started in the beginning of this episode, how that led into the switching of their bodies in terms of Maggie and Mel, and then we will talk about the Sarkana and the new findings of Fiona. We'll get into Medusa, the storyline that carried this entire episode and was incredible to me. And then we will have our very special segment by our very own Kamisha. And then we'll get into some predictions and wrap it up. Before we get into it, I'm Steph Sabraw, and like I said, I'm joined by the wonderful, beautiful, one and only Kamisha Lauture.
Hi, guys.
You guys, I don't know if you can see, but her eyeshadow right now is amazing. Every time I look at Kamisha, I'm like, how could a creature be so beautiful?
But you're so sweet. Thank
here
you.
she is. What was your? Are you with me on this?
Oh no, I'm with you.
Okay,
I'm with you.
What was your thought? What are your thoughts?
Ooh. I agree with you. I feel like this has been the best episode so far. I think it included a lot of different things. It was really funny, subtle humor, but that made me laugh. It was sad. It was crazy. So shocking with a lot of the things that was revealed in this episode. I think overall it was just amazing.
Yeah, I totally agree. There was a lot of play at different emotions, and it was done timely.
Yeah.
The comedic punchlines were hit in a point where it was good, and then when it needed to be serious, it was serious. Yeah. There was parts where I was actually tearing up, and we'll definitely get into that. But I think that coming into this season, they promised us a show that would be totally feminist in their views and their points, and wouldn't back down, and I think we finally got that. And by feminist, I mean literally just representing women in an equal way and showing kind of where we're oppressed in society and the places that we can build on. And I think in that sense, they did exceptional this episode. Perhaps one of the best writings of a rape situation, in my opinion, especially in a sci-fi show. So the only other person who's had obviously it was a longer storyline, but if you guys have seen Magicians, they did a really great representation of what it means to be a victim and how to kind of gain your agency back when the world has been cruel and horrible to you. But let's get into Macy, because that's kind of where the whole episode is centered around her. And we see her last episode going to the elders for help. And she actually does, and she meets one of them named Priyanka, Elder Bari, who actually revealed her face, which was, I am glad they touched on that. Like, you literally can't have a conversation when their face is warped.
Yeah.
And she finds out that the Vortex Various, I guess, is where they amplify magic there. But that's where they're trying to figure out, because she wakes up from a nightmare. Or this was after she spoke with them. She's just trying to get help on her demonic, like the demonic demon inside of her coming through. What did you think about that scene? Did you think you found out anything more about the elders in that scene than where we left off?
I guess it, for a second I had a thought of, oh wow, they seem younger than I imagined. But then I thought, okay, well, Charity is also really young too. Aside from that, no, nothing that I felt like I gained more information from that.
Yeah, I agree. I feel like, and I guess at the end we get more reveals and massive reveals, but still don't really understand the elders and understand Charity's place in it all. I don't know if she is full representation of them, or obviously we see that Elder Bari was not in the same mentality as Charity.
Oh, yeah.
But then Macy's having nightmares, or she had a nightmare where she sees a guy running and like freaking out, and then he's frozen into stone, and then when she's running sees it really happens. I kind of started to think, oh, is this a Medusa thing?
Oh, really?
Yeah,
At that moment?
Well, only because only one goddess I know turns people to stone.
Okay.
But I still didn't know if it was her at that point, but I was like, does she have a Medusa power? Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't even think anything about Medusa in that scene, but I just knew that, or I predicted that it probably was Macy doing that in her dream.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, by the way, you guys, definitely join us in this conversation. Cammie is fully in the chat right now,
Yes.
so incorporate your thoughts. We love to hear what you guys have to say. And then on the flip side, Mel is with Jada, and she's on her escapades with her, but we hear Charity and Harry say Mel won't end up like Fiona, and that's where we started to get the storyline, like, what is happening with Fiona? I don't get it. And Mel actually finds out that the keeper's real name is Fiona Callahan, which is Charity, and Charity's sister. And her being dead is a cover story. The elders sent her to Tartarus. She was born to be the keeper of the flame. The elders banished her. She's immortal, which they didn't know because she's the keeper of the flame. So the Sarkana rescued her. What do you think? Like, what's your point of view? Do we really believe this storyline that Jada's giving? What's your initial thoughts?
Semi. I do believe that Jada is telling the truth, but also just with everything from this episode, I'm not entirely convinced that it was the elders that sort of banished her to Tartarus.
Or if it was just Charity.
Just Charity. That is what I'm thinking now.
Wow. That'd be so crazy.
Yeah.
And I will say the introduction of Fiona, who actually Maggie ends up meeting by being switched in the body of Mel, is really portrayed as this broken individual because she's been in Tartarus for that long, and we saw what it did to Harry in a short amount of time. So imagine years and years of being there. But it was a moment where it allowed Maggie to see the reality of the elders.
Yeah.
Which I was like, is she gonna blow her cover? Because we know that the sister switched body because of where Maggie was ending last episode. So she was blowing it the entire time. She even kissed Jada and was like almost slipped up then.
Yeah.
But I'm glad she got to see it because there'd been no way no one would have believed Mel, in my opinion, if Maggie didn't get to see it from Mel's perspective.
For sure. And I'm actually really shocked that Jada didn't sort of catch that Mel was Maggie in that moment, because she was super like empath, like a real empath right there. And I don't think Mel ever gets that way. So that was interesting.
Yeah, it was, and she was more stylish than ever.
Yeah.
I love that. But the yellow jacket she was wearing, it was a yellow jacket with cheetah on the inside. I know, Cammie, you loved it.
Yeah, it was super cute.
Cammie and I love clothes. It was very cute. I was sad she had to change that, but I understood she had to be in character.
Yeah.
And that kind of leads into Maggie, but where we get with Maggie is before they switch, I knew something was off when she touched Mel's arm.
And then
do you
it
see
just
it glowing?
stuck there. It just, that glow just...
Do we know, and I don't know if I missed this, chat, correct me if you guys know, do we know why Mel has that bruise on her arm?
I thought it was a tattoo.
Is it?
That is what I thought it was. However, I've never seen it before until this episode.
I saw it one other episode.
Okay.
And I don't remember if they touched on it, but it seems like a dark marking to me. I don't know. I really want to know, though, because it obviously played a part. But I was glad that they really played into the light on her arm, because I was like, what's happening? And we know that was from the vortex. She touched something in the vortex where where she was last episode, and it amplifies her power. Switching bodies happens when empaths' power spiral out of control, and she didn't have enough control. Oh, Ivan Soda.
Yeah, so you guys are saying it's from Jada, the burn mark when Jada hit. Mel.
At the beginning of the season. Okay, but I didn't know it actually marked like that.
Yeah,
wow.
Same.
That's creepy. That's creepy. And it doesn't mean anything. It's not like a tracking. It feels kind of sus.
Oh, okay. So Mark Ryan's is saying that Jada zapped her to get the scythe of Tartarus. So, okay.
I remember that, but that just stays on your skin. Like, Jada's that powerful. I don't know. I feel like there's more to that. There has to be some sort of thing that I feel like it has to have another purpose for it to be in the show.
Maybe.
Personally, that's where I am.
Or maybe they just didn't want to make it seem unreal.
Oh, yes, of course. This was in the beginning. Kristen Carter, thank you. Harry offered to heal it, but she kept it. I remember that. She wanted to keep the scar as representation of what she went through.
Okay.
Thank you. I thought I was having a brain fart, but I couldn't really remember because they keep showing it, and it seems like pretty, like a gnarly scar. Yeah. Okay. That makes sense. Thank you, guys. So in my opinion, it seems like seeing Fiona, hearing Jada's perspective, also hearing Fiona's perspective, the Sarkana and Jada seem to be trustworthy. I don't know. It seems like too much in their face, and it seems like Fiona was so real. Like, I don't know if that could have been faked, like how she really felt about her sister.
I don't even know because I had so much trust in Charity.
Really?
Yes.
Even after the ending of this episode?
No. Not after this episode,
Okay.
but I'm saying like before this episode that I don't know if I can believe Fiona.
I know it's hard because Charity seems super manipulative and to any means necessary. Is she like in the OG Charmed where the elders made decisions that they thought was kind of like bettering the overall good, even though it kind of screwed a lot of people over in the short run? I don't know. It seems kind of bad. It's a bad look for Charity right now. And it's a good look for the Sarkana and Jada and definitely. Fiona. But I do wish, like I said last time this happened with Jada and Mel's storyline, if you put last week's storyline and this week's storyline together, that's an episode. And I think apart as two separate little short parts, two segments in each episode, and then actually representing a huge, if not the most important plot line of the entire Charmed series in season 1, it seems like there should have been more time allotted to that.
Okay.
To the Sarkana, the elders, and Fiona.
Oh yeah.
I don't know. To me, I would love to see a little bit more.
I think we'll get more Fiona.
Yeah,
that's what I'm feeling.
Yeah. Before we move on to our next topic, I do want to say thank you guys for being in the chat, and Kamisha also has a message for you.
Yes, guys. Thank you again for coming here and being with us in the chat, and for making us the ESPN of TV talk. But before we move on, we'd love your help. If you're watching from YouTube, if you can just subscribe and give us a thumbs up. And if you're listening on iTunes, give us a 5-star rating. But wherever you are, as Steph said, just leave a comment because we'd love for you to join in on the conversation. Overall, we completely love coming here every week to be able to talk to you guys about Charmed and other after shows. So we want to say thank you for supporting us, and just be sure to tell your friends.
Yes, we love you guys. Hit that like button right now if you're watching on YouTube. But we do love the iTunes reviews, as Kamisha said. I love those. Those are extra spicy, as I always say. Let's get into the main part of this episode. Like I said, I was so happy that they did this and in this way. We find out that as Macy's doing more research into kind of what she saw with the guy turning into stone, was that she has a connection with Medusa, who's like this goddess being, deemed evil goddess being. She was originally a witch, and she was raped by Poseidon Athena's temple, and she was the victim made to be a monster. And it's a really interesting take because she is the monster with the snakes and turns people into stone, like we've always learned. But in history, I've never learned, and I have to check the full historic reference on Medusa, but I've never learned that she was raped, and that's why according to one article I read, she was repeatedly raped by the Greek god Poseidon, and she was essentially slut-shamed by the goddess Athena and punished by being transformed into a hideous monster, which is so crazy, and that they were able to represent it. When you first saw Medusa, did you know any of her backstory?
No, I didn't. And I will be completely honest here that history was a thing that just like in school, it just went over my head. So, but I do remember learning about Medusa, but never hearing that.
Yeah.
And I think maybe something to maybe think is that when I learned about her, I believe I was in elementary school. So maybe that's not a topic they wanted to talk about.
Yeah.
You know,
maybe.
But it is important.
So true.
But maybe they just thought it wasn't the right time to tell us about that part of her.
It's really interesting in the way that they tied it in with the plot line, and this happens in college campuses and all around the world at any stage in life. I think it's even happening in elementary school, where people take pictures and videos without people's consent and use it as either blackmail or just post it on the internet.
Yeah.
And that is so disgusting. And this culture of slut shaming women is so disturbing and so embedded in our society, and something that needs to be eradicated instantly. And I did love that they made it that she was out for vengeance for these people specifically. Although there always is a different way of punishing, but when you were made to be this monster where that was your only power,
it makes sense for why she would do that.
Yeah. Do you think that they tied in those two plot lines well?
I think they did. I didn't see that coming, and so it was a big surprise, and I think they did it really well.
Yeah. The part that I was tearing up at was when the three sisters ended up confronting Medusa, and Macy came to the realization she's only turning people to stone who turn away. And this is where it gets really, really deep, because people don't want to look at victims of rape. They don't want to come to terms that happened to someone. They don't want to come to terms that people do that to people. Yeah. And for Macy to fully look at her and say, I see you, you are not at fault. You are the victim, and none of this is your fault. And when she was like, I really, really see you. And that's, I think, what victims just want to be seen. This culture of slut shaming and making victims not the victims, and instead asking questions like, what were you wearing? Yeah. Did you were you drinking? All these different questions that we ask victims, and blaming them and turning them into monsters is exactly what they showed. And they did it in such a great way that was sensitive but also powerful, in my opinion.
Yes, you said everything so well, and that is everything that I feel as well. I think they did it beautifully, and it kind of reminds me. I'm not sure if you guys ever watched 13 Reasons Why.
Yeah.
But that during those trials when they had. Oh, I forget. Hannah, when everyone was talking about Hannah and how they knew her, and then they started to talk about all those different moments of how she wasn't this innocent girl, and that started to take over, and people were like, oh, well, I guess maybe this is why this happened to her.
Such a good point.
Right? So, and I think Macy telling her, I see you, that it was just so powerful, because like you said, for a lot of rape victims, they don't actually see them. They see what the stories have been, and people's perception, rather than actually seeing who this person is in front of them. So I think they did that really well.
Totally. And on that point, what you were saying is that the narrative gets switched.
Yes.
And when we let these rumors become the reality, then we completely screw up what actually in fact happened. We screw up the identity of the victim, and we screw up the story, and we end up letting these pigs let themselves live their own best lives. And that's why I love when the sisters were like, they were able to make a stand and be like, you guys are done. And Parker stood up.
I love that we need an ally. I love that he stood up.
Say that again.
Yeah, we need an ally.
Men.
I love that Parker stood up. Men out there, please, if you see things like this going on, stand up. Like, be a voice for those who cannot really tell their story or be seen. We need more men who can stick up.
If you want women to stop saying men are trash, you can be a part of the narrative. We're not asking for much. We're just asking that when we're in situations where we can't protect ourselves, or you can at least acknowledge that we live in a society where rape culture is prevalent.
Yes.
If you are a good person, it shouldn't be hard for you to stand up and be like, I do not need to be friends with someone like that. I do not need to let any association I'm a part of accept people like that. It's not that hard. These are the steps we need to take. And I think a lot of people are like so scared of blacklisting people. But when you have for sure 100% fact, or at least give your empathy out there to listen and try to find out what the facts are, that is all we ask.
Yes.
And then we end with a killer note. Literally, we see Macy talking to the elder
Bari.
Priyanka Bari. Yeah, and she basically tells her that she has the evil sight, so she can find all signs of evil in any time, present, future, past. And that is really crazy to think about. So then it was really scary when she like threw the needle.
I was freaked out by that. For a second, I thought she was turning into like a demon. Bari, I thought something was up with her.
The way she did that, was like this javelin.
So dramatic.
But then, and basically she sees Charity killed Marisol, which, did you see this at all?
No.
I didn't at all.
I didn't see that coming.
I thought it was going to be a third party that we hadn't seen.
Yeah.
What do you guys in the chat think? Because I was completely blindsided by this. I thought Charity could have been a part of the overall problem, but I didn't think it could have been at the hands of her. And she kills Elder Bari, which is crazy to think. So I don't know. I don't know if that means she's evil, or if she like found some way to make herself feel like that's what she had to do. Because in all we've seen of Marisol was that she was a great, great witch and woman. I don't know.
Yeah, that is all we've seen, but I don't even know anymore.
So I assume Charity we'll get into predictions about that, but I think that she'll probably wipe Macy.
For sure.
But we'll save that. Let's get into Kamisha's special segment.
Yes. Okay, guys. We are looking back in February 24th, 1999. Oh, there we go.
Witchy music for the OG Charmed.
So this episode is called Is There a Woogie in the House? Written by Chris Levinson. And aired February 24th, 1999. After an earthquake, the Halliwell sisters call the gas man to check the smell of the gas in their basement. The man is possessed by an evil force called the Woogie Man that the Halliwell sisters' grandma once banished. So this Woogie Man is back and actually ends up possessing Phoebe. So Prue and Piper try to help Phoebe, but end up getting expelled from their own house by her. And they find out that their home, is a spiritual nexus, so an equidistant from the 5 elements: earth, water, fire, wood, and metal. So now Evo is living in the house, and the 2 sisters are just fighting to rescue their sister, in which they do. And they end up writing the new sort of like spell on how to vanquish this this demon or the Woogie Man from coming back. For this episode, the connection in a way would be, so Phoebe is possessed, in this, and also in this episode, we kind of deal with, I don't want to say Medusa being possessed, but she's driven by the force of
vengeance,
vengeance and what she's been through. And with Phoebe, she's possessed by the Woogie Man, and who's out to sort of get revenge as well, and take the Halliwell sisters. So that's where I would see the connection from that episode. Yeah,
I love that. Oh man, I need to rewatch this episode actually. This is like one where I'm like, I remember loving it and thinking the Woogie Man was, it scared me.
Yeah.
All these episodes I was at an age when it came out where it was scary to me.
Yeah, same. Yeah.
Well, thank you.
You're welcome.
Let's get into our predictions.
Let's
do it. And you guys, write your predictions in the chat right now.
Your AfterBuzz
Kamisha will look
TV
into them.
predictions.
Okay, Kamisha, do you have any off the bat?
I had a prediction at the beginning that I already said, and I totally forgot what it was. Oh my god!
Did it have to do with Charity, the Elders, Sarkana, Fiona?
Fiona. Okay, you go first.
I'll go first. Okay. So I think that since Macy is still going to possess this all-knowing, the evil sight, I think that if Charity is really evil, Macy will, even if her mind is wiped, be able to see through that eventually. Might not be next episode or the next, but I think by the end of the season, she would be able to see. That would be the connection I would make between her new developed power, so to speak. I think that we will get more development with Fiona. Maybe Fiona now. I think the only one left to meet is Macy. And that could get twisted because Macy has the strongest connection now with the Elders. And I would love to find out Harry's knowledge of any of this.
Yes.
If he has any, because it seems like he doesn't really. He didn't even know he had a kid until a few episodes ago.
Yeah, true. Those are great predictions. For me, I want to see more of Fiona. Not really a prediction, but kind of what I want to see. And perhaps with the leader, the captain of the rush of the
Lucy.
Lucy. Perhaps Lucy and Charity might come together and
she's working with Alistair.
Yeah. So who knows? Maybe Charity in some ways working with Alistair. I'm not sure. But.
Yeah. And that makes me think that, remember, Charity was shocked that she got, I forget exactly what the power that was used from Alistair to take the pink.
Oh, yes.
But maybe that connects. Like, maybe that's why Alistair was able to do that. I'm not sure, but it seemed like she thought it was out of her character. So maybe it was. So maybe there is something else going on.
Yeah.
Billie Jean Girl 24 in the chat, what's up, says, I predict that Mel and Maggie are going to find out about Charity, and they are going to tell Harry, and then they're all going to work together to stop Charity and save Macy. Mark Rhines, they need to summon Marisol from the dead for help. She's the only one they can trust. Ivan Soto thinks that Charity is being controlled by something, or someone. And Boss at home, I think Parker's brother turned into Charity and killed Marisol. What?
Whoa.
But that would have been, like, out of the timeline, right? I mean, unless you're saying before he was shipped off.
Yeah.
That he would have done that?
But then seeing Macy seeing Charity's memory, it couldn't have been, I wouldn't think, like, how would, you know?
I don't know.
I don't know.
So Mark Ryan says, Sakana and the Elders finna go to battle and watch Marisol come back from the dead. She's been out of the episodes for too long. Yeah, I would love to see Marisol in more episodes. I really want to know more about her.
I want to know more about Charity and Marisol's relationship.
Yes, me too. That was a crazy scene at the end. And Charity, is doing, if she's not evil, she's doing a really good job of not playing evil. But wow. Thank you guys so much for joining us in the chat. I only see a few likes in there, and I see way more people in the chat, so make sure to hit this like button. Until next episode, where can we find you, Kamisha?
Yes, guys, you can find me on Twitter and Instagram at Kamisha Lauture.
And I'm Steph Sabraw. You can find me on Instagram and Twitter at Steph Sabraw. Thank you guys so much for joining us. We will see you next week. Stay witchy until then.
Yes, bye.
Our founder, Kevin Undergaro, and me, Maria Menounos, would like to thank you for tuning in to AfterBuzz TV. Remember, we're not just the first, we're the biggest in the world, and we're the only destination for all your favorite TV shows. Whatever you crave, we've got it. So go to AfterBuzzTV.com and check out our lineup. Buzz you later.
The views expressed herein are those of the hosts only and do not necessarily reflect the views of AfterBuzz TV or its owners or principals.